Um, I don't know, man. When it comes to all this stuff, I'm so cynical now to where
Me too,
I
man.
think I'm going to start focusing my efforts on just more. I'm not going to be partisan anymore. I mean, I'll always be conservative, but I'm not. I fuck him. I hope everything gets burnt down. I mean, I know he won't do it for a plethora of reasons, but I wish he'd declassify everything. I hope when he concedes, he doesn't concede. He just basically says, "This was stolen from me. I'm going to step down for the good of the people. I'm not, basically. But this is not a fair election. I won this election. This was completely fraudulent, but I'm stepping down." I hope he does something like that. People will totally, you know, that, but I don't even care.
Yeah.
Fuck it all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I agree with that. Yeah, this, for those of you watching, this is just us just having fun in the middle of the
Yeah, we're
night.
just
I should be in bed.
Yeah, same.
And it's all fucking playhouse.
Because look, it's possible. That's possible. But again, to believe that, then you would have to believe that this was set up by the establishment well before Trump ran. You would have to believe that the establishment, like, this is like, to me, if you take yourselves out, take out the picture of us being in the United States because we're living in it. So, like, look at somewhere like Syria with Assad. It's like the people that say, well, Assad gassed his own people. So the first question you have to ask is why? He's winning. He has total control. Why would he gas his own people? The only chance he has of losing is gassing his own people. So why would the establishment that's cruising to victory, cruising to total control of the American populace, why in 2016 when they decide, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw a wrench in this whole thing. Like, I just don't see it. All they had to do, like, with the tech control, with, like, deep fakes and the technology they'll have coming in the next 20 years with 5G, like, they're going to have total control. Why risk it? It just seems so, it seems like such a, could there be advantages to them putting Trump as a mole, getting people to support Trump, then getting a list of Trump supporters, that's not the type of deep state that I believe exists. I don't believe it's guys in smoky rooms smoking cigars with Illuminati symbols and shit like that. I believe it's a bunch of people that are like, we are corrupt, we're in charge, we're happy to be corrupt and in charge, we'll keep the ball rolling.
Hi, guys.
That's my opinion. But again, it doesn't matter. Like, none of this matters. It's clear that there was a failure with Trump, regardless if it was because Trump intentionally failed or Trump tried and he failed. I think the more reasonable answer is he trusted the people around him. I think he talked to Bill Barr. I think he talked to all the people around him, and they were telling him, "Oh, Mr. President, all this corruption is going to come out, but you have to do it a certain way. You don't want to rock the boat. So we're going to do it this way. And then all the corruption will come out, and then you'll win in a landslide." I think he probably believed up to 2 weeks before the election that Comey and Clapper and all this evidence of the coup against him was going to be made public, and people were going to be like, oh my God, this is so terrible, and I'll vote for him. It seemed to me his tone changed right around the time the Hunter Biden story came out. where he was like, why the hell is no one talking about this?
But let me ask
And
you
I
a
think
question.
that's when he realized,
Let me ask you a question. Why did he put Bill Barr in place? Why did he put Rosenstein in place? Why did he put Ray in place? Why did he put these people that were so clearly corrupt people? With a Google search, you can find out this stuff. Why was he connected to contact tracing with Bill, with Parcell? Why was he pushing the vaccine? Why did he have, close relationships with Bill Gates? Why did he put Fauci and Birx in charge next to him? Why did he change his tune on all of that stuff? Was he part of it, or was he just a complete moron?
He just got led around, I think. I honestly think he did. He got led
So
around,
he's
and
a
he
moron?
got advised to pick the wrong people on purpose. He just got had. I think he got had, honestly.
So he's a moron.
No,
who were
I don't think he's a
Who were the
moron.
alternative options that were around him? Who were the alternatives that were around him that he could have
that's
put
exactly the point, Rational. So you can't, right? Like, you have to understand, Trump wasn't as much of an outsider as someone like we would be necessarily, right? So it wasn't like someone that came in and was just like, oh, well, I don't trust any of this shit. Trump was like, yeah, I played the game. I'm a billionaire. I know politicians like their palms greased. I know about that. I'm getting involved, whatever. So he gets in there. He's not going to just hire Rob Noerr, guy with 20 viewers on YouTube channel, to be his, I mean, it's not going to happen. And
He
so
should have.
you have
Would have fixed a lot of the bullshit.
right. You have to have someone that has some sort of credentials. Well, the problem is the deep state's so deep, everyone with those sort of credentials are involved. So who do you do? Who was he going to appoint if not Jeff Sessions? Bill Barr? Like, what were his other options? Who was he going to put? And I think you could tell the people he put around.
Of options, though, man. I don't know the names, but there's got to be people out there that, I mean, he could have. His whole thing was he was going to drain the swamp, and instead he proliferated the swamp. So I don't know. There's just stuff. So he was a moron.
I mean, again, it's an irrelevant conversation. Like this is like saying,
I'll tell you what's irrelevant.
What's that? No, to me, it's irrelevant because it's like this. It's like, well, we lost the game. Did we lose because our quarterback was, paid off, had bets, so he intentionally lost the game? Or did we lose because he's shitty? Well, we lost. So, I mean, instead of acknowledging we lost, what do we do moving forward? Instead, we're like, well, did we lose because Trump was in on it? Or did we lose because he put bad people around him?
But don't you think that there does make a difference on that? I mean, that does make a difference, I think, in a way. I think, yes, we got to realize we lost, but if we realize we lost because this dude was in on it, or, opposed to this guy was a moron, I think that does make a difference.
Well, practically it doesn't, though. Does it? I mean, from a practical viewpoint, it doesn't actually matter whether he was in on it or not. I mean,
right.
We know what we know now. So there are certain things about Donald Trump that we can't know, and we're never going to know. We can only guess on that. But one of the things that we do know for sure is that he did an enormous amount to expose to us what he referred to as the deep state. Right? So I look at it from the viewpoint of, okay, even though Donald Trump lost, even though things have turned out badly in some ways, and some of this stuff is quite negative, we don't need Donald Trump to be the head of a populist movement. A populist movement can be based around anyone, and ideally, you probably wouldn't even have it based around an individual. You have it based around groups of people that have a common idea, and you build a movement. It doesn't require one person. But what Trump has done, from my perspective, anyway, as an outsider, looking in on this thing and following it pretty intently, is he has really exposed just how unbelievably deep and wide the corruption is in the United States. And it's not just people in the US that see it, it's people right across the West. I'm in Australia and I see this stuff, and it is mind-blowing. And yeah, look, there is a part of you that says, oh, it's a difficult situation to be in because, you kind of feel helpless at the fact that we all know that this is fraud. We all know that this election's bullshit. We all know that Donald Trump got ripped off and there's nothing that we can do about it. But at the same time, it isn't just us that see it. There are people on the left even that have looked at this and that have said, well, hang on, there's something not right here. There is the opportunity for a movement to be built. So, you kind of think about it like you got to play a long game, and when we talk about the deep state and that kind of stuff, they're just individual people. They're not superheroes. They're not people that have some amazing prescient ability to look into the future or anything of that kind, right? They are just people, and they screw up, they make mistakes, they get things wrong, right? And we can build a movement.
No, I don't disagree. No, go ahead. I know Dronetek wanted to say something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Like move. I don't know what's going on here. Something weird's going on with my OBS. Anyway.
Good thing I'm not an epileptic. I'd have had a fit then.
Yeah, it's weird. So I got to minimize it while I'm talking. Apparently. Oh no, it's because I keep hitting my transmit button. I don't need to. I don't know why I'm doing that. Anyway. Yeah, I was gonna say to your earlier comment about Trump being surrounded by bad people, guys. I mean, and I hate to be a broken record. It is my focus, the media. As corrupt as we can see the media is, and we can see that the tech giants are, and that they're willing to. I mean, we all know that they combined with Hollywood and academia. Okay, all that power combined is almost like unbeatable. Like. I've been saying for years that we're barely just treading water at this point. And now, we're probably going to lose this election. I like to hold out a little bit of hope, but, I'm coming to terms.
Let's just, I see everyone in your chat. Let's just get to it. Like, I get the hopium and everyone wanting to hold out. Fine. First off, let me say, I'm going to be pessimistic, but it's not pessimistic because acknowledging when you've lost is the first step in order to be able to win and to start win again, right?
I agree.
So let me say this. Let me say this from the outset, and if any of you disagree, let me know. I think we'll lose. I'll be more than happy to come in here and eat crow if we win. Anyone disagree with that in the panel?
No.
No, not at all.
Okay, now, for all of you that are in the chat saying, oh, you're a bunch of damn defeatists, we're clearly going to win. Clearly, it's a 99% victory for Trump. Let me ask you, how many of you said Trump was going to take 48 out of 50 states? Now, you're going to bullshit us. You're going to say, oh, it wasn't me, it was the other guy, but it was most of you. So you were wrong about that. You under-anticipated the actual corruption that would occur. You were wrong about that. Secondly, how many times are you going to be disappointed? How many times? Bill Barr, trust the plan, man. Oh, Bill Barr, he's going to do everything. These criminals are going to be brought to justice before the election. And then when they're not, on to the next excuse. So now we're going to rely on the Supreme Court. The same Supreme Court that in the 5-3 decision ruled that you can't go to church in Nevada, but you can go to the casino. That's the court. That's the court we're going to rely on now. That's what we're going to do. We're putting all of our hopes in that court. How many times will conservatives learn these establishment institutions do not have the back of the American people? But that's it. That's who we're going to rely on. What next? If the courts don't work, are these people on the chat going to be like, well, we'll send it to the FBI. The FBI will help Donald. Chris Wray will take care of it. I mean, it's just, at some point you have to be like, this is unbelievable. I'm watching Trump supporters cheer the corruption on, cheer the obvious theft of this election because they're like, aha, the theft of the election proves we'll find out there was a theft of the election. It's just unbelievable to me.
God, here we go again. I agree with Robert 100%. We need to come to terms with what's going on here, and we need to deal with the fact of what we're like. We have almost insurmountable odds to deal with, but we have an opportunity coming here. I think if Biden ends up being the president, the media is going to be in the tank. It's going to be completely obvious. The tech giants are going to be censoring everybody. It's an opportunity, and I think that's what we need to be looking forward to.
What's the opportunity?
Every single person.
I mean,
the opportunity is going to be, it's going to be just more mounting evidence. I mean, I just feel like if
what
you look,
what does that matter? I agree
it
with
does
you,
matter. Well,
matter?
yeah, I mean, I see what you mean, because what happens is the media for 4 years during a Republican administration basically just tortures the population for 4 years into doing what they want to do. I know, guys. I mean, it's not. I'm trying not to be black pill here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know all the
things-
colors of the pills either.
Yeah,
Just let me ask the audience. Just let me ask.
This comes down to an assumption that.
Go ahead, Brad. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say again. This comes down to the assumption that the people that are opposed to us are somehow omnipotent or have some power that we don't have. That's bullshit. I mean, yeah, sure. Like they have the media and they have Hollywood and they have big tech and they have all of this stuff. And you go, okay, yeah, looks insurmountable. No, fuck that. There's no reason to think that way.
Okay, so let me ask the audience
got
here.
The ability to actually create a movement that'll work.
Let me ask the audience here. So all of you that are so certain, you're all certain. So we have a litany of people that are certain in your audience here that this is going to be overturned. On the 0.5% chance that you're wrong, then what? Are you going to say, oh, shit? Or are you going to say, yes, this is part of the plan? See, the plan was to have Trump lose, to have the courts roll against him. Then he could expose even more corruption. Is that going to be the argument? And what people don't understand is, and this is the most frustrating thing, and this is what I was telling you the other night, SJG. This is what's most frustrating. Instead of coming together and saying, the plan is us, we are the people that need to make changes. We are the people that can help change and wake people up to this corruption. Instead of that, the same Trump supporters that talk how deep the deep state is are now totally relying on the court. They're saying, every Trump supporter on here that's saying I'm a defeatist, this is the argument they're making in de facto. You ready? Oh, we should just sit back and do nothing. We've won. We've won. The courts are going to take care of it all. We can't change the court's opinion. We know that. So you've put it in the hands of the courts. That's what they've done. I'm saying instead of that, we should be out there doing everything we can right now to wake every single person we can up to how massive this corruption is and how they screwed Donald Trump over. That's what we could be doing. We could be out there trying to get rid of the rhinos like Lindsey Graham that allowed this corruption to occur and refused to do anything about the coup. That's what we could be doing. But instead, there are millions of Trump supporters out there right now saying, yes, we believe the deep state is so deep that it's been against Trump for 4 years, something I agree with them about, but we're going to rely on the deep state to correct this election. That's their argument. It blows my mind. And then once they're proven, again, everyone's like, will you come on live stream and eat crow? I will happily come on and eat crow. I'll sit here for 4 hours and let you all make fun of me. Absolutely. And I'll be happy to do it because I care more about the country than being proven right. But we'll see.
If this does happen, I'll kiss my poodle's pooper. I'll pucker up and kiss my poodle's pooper on live camera if this gets returned.
We might have all said that the first time, but I'm with you. I've kind of been coming around to just accepting it and moving on from there. I'm with these guys, and I know how many of you guys. I love all you in the chat. I love all you that support me. A lot of you guys are being really mean to Robert. I don't know why.
Oh, I don't give a shit.
But why?
It makes me happy.
Why?
Well,
Robert, do any of you guys know Robert? Do you guys know Robert? He is. I think he's one of our greatest allies. Why would you want to beat up on him?
I don't mind it. I know what's happening. Go ahead, SJG.
They must have not heard me earlier when I was thinking, you know what? Trump's either a dumb motherfucker or he was part of this whole thing. That's the way I feel right now. I'm salty as a son of a bitch, and I know everyone knows me.
And I'm disagree
salty right now.
I disagree with that. I think Trump's the greatest president we've ever had. I think Trump was one. I know we disagree. I think that Trump appointed bad people around him. He didn't realize how deep the deep state was. That's what I feel the problem with Trump was. Yes. Well, I mean, that's one way of putting it, but that's like saying, well, SJG, do you trust me in Dronetek? What if we're against you? Were you stupid?
No.
Or did you just make a bad decision? He
made a lot of bad decisions then.
He made a lot of bad decisions. But that doesn't change the fact that let's look at what he did. He's done so much though. I mean, 3 Supreme Court justices. I mean, that alone may make that 4 years worth it, right? Yes, no.
Yeah, but wouldn't have any Republican president that's been in there when they had that opportunity of, elected,
no. So I think a lot of other Republican presidents would have done what other, like Bush, and would have tried to cater to the media to get favor, thinking he would, and then he didn't.
Right.
I'm just trying to take the heat off Robert.
No, that's fine. George says in the chat, Trump exposed everything. The American people need to do stuff. I agree. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying instead of sitting here saying, look, I hope the courts decide this in Trump's favor. I'm extremely skeptical because I've seen how the courts act. Who we got faith in? Roberts? Justice Roberts? That's who you're putting your faith in. Chief Justice Roberts. My point is, you can still hold out hope if you want, but it's time to assume that they're not going to change it. So what can we do going forward? That's the important thing. If we just sit here and say, oh, the courts will take care of it, and then when they don't, what are we going to say next? And this is the problem I have with the Q people. I think that I know some of the people that, were involved in Q, and I thought they came up with some great information, and Q was a great tool for them learning and doing their own research. That's all good. But anytime that you're told to blindly trust something, if you're told to blindly trust something, what happens is all of a sudden you start making decisions everything's going to work out. So I don't need to go out and do anything. I don't need, I'm not going to sit here and talk about what I've done. I'm no better than anyone else, but I'm just making the claim, like, Trump, I think we were lucky with Trump where he was a president that actually listened to his supporters. For example, gun rights, he didn't talk about much until after the Virginia rally. Then he started to talk about. So I feel like we could have been trying to tell Trump from like 2018, get rid of Barr, prosecute James Comey now. The IG referred James Comey for prosecution. Do it now. And if Barr's unwilling to do it, get him the hell out of there. But instead, we had millions of Trump supporters saying, trust the plan. And so that's what Trump did. He trusted the plan.
So I'm still
Can
though.
I just say, I agree with you, Rob, on that. I mean, I'm not an American, so when I say we, I'm just talking about more broadly people that are on the right, conservative, that kind of thing. I think that we sort of let go of our agency. That is a real problem. We can't rely. If you want to save, you go to Jesus. That's not going to work. We actually, we have to be involved in the process. And I just want to say, Rob, I completely agree with you. But sitting back and waiting for Trump to do everything on our behalf was not a good idea right from the start, and it was never going to be a good idea. And it's not really the way that we're meant to be. We kind of, to me, it kind of says that we're much more individualistic. We're much more into the idea that we have agency, we have the ability to change things. But somehow a lot of people were sort of lulled into letting Trump do things for them, and they just sat back going, "Oh, we'll trust the plan." But that's not going to work. We have to be involved. We have to be active in that plan, or we've got no control. We don't know what's going on. So yeah, I'm completely with you on that one, Rob. But that's we can learn from that mistake.
Exactly. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to like. It's not just Q people. Like, for example, Ben Shapiro and Mike Cernovich, both people. Yeah, I like Cernovich more than Shapiro. I have problems with Shapiro. I feel he was kind of establishment Republican character that I have no respect for. But anyways, they're both like, well, this election sets us up nicely for 2022. Are you kidding me? If this election goes through, there's one of two things that happen. If Biden wins, one of two things have happened. The first, which I believe is what actually happened, is they stole the election, right? There was election fraud in a variety of ways that they were able to steal votes. I think the evidence of that is overwhelming. I can't prove it. I can't 100% prove it. But there's so many little things that each of them show an 80% chance or higher that something fishy went on. And when they all go in the same direction, it's like, yeah, this looks really bad. Right? But even if that's not the case, let's say we have someone on here that says, I don't believe fraud occurred. We didn't even need fraud because the election was stolen years before the election was stolen, because the Republicans that aren't Trump allowed the tech companies to continue to censor conservatives. They allowed the media to continue to control the narrative. They allowed the FBI to engage in a coup against Trump. So all of that control of the narrative was still going to be able to massively sway people and still have a chance that Trump would have lost. If they could drag a dementia-ridden, cognitive decline body like Joe Biden across the finish line that couldn't get 12 people to come see him, whether it be through cheating on election day or just because the media and the CIA and the FBI and the tech companies all pushed him to the finish line, what chance do we ever have to win another election? So when I hear conservatives talking about, well, we're setting ourselves up for 2022, again, this is just like the Q people to me. You're putting your hope in the system, whether it be an invisible person like Q, whether it be in Republicans in 2022. That's a huge mistake. Instead, we need to realize there is no plan. We are the plan. And it's time for millions of Americans to wake up and say, what can we do that we don't have to rely on some all-powerful figure, whether it be Trump, whether it be you, whether it be Lindsey Graham? We need to do actions ourselves. And until we admit, that's where my frustration, people are like, why are you so upset? Well, that's where my frustration comes in of all these people like, it's in the bag. The courts are going to roll in Trump's favor. Where do you get this confidence from? To me, it's the exact same confidence that said, it's in the bag. Bill Barr is going to lock up all these coup, participants before the election. It's just not true. And until we start to realize we can't rely on these, we hope they do something, but we're not going to rely on them. We're going to take actions ourselves.
Honestly, though, for me, and again, I am kind of salty right now. So for any of my people that are on Dronetek's channel too and are on mine, sorry in advance, but to me, it just makes me feel I've lost all complete faith in any kind of our system. I don't think our votes matter at all. Obviously, I don't think our voice matters at all. I don't think we have, I think it's all a big show. And honestly, I do think with the COVID and everything else that's been happening this year, COVID wasn't put in place so Donald Trump lost the election. COVID was put in place to bring us into a globalized, the Great Reset, Agenda 2030, a globalization. It was literally that new world order that all the presidents have talked about. That's not a tinfoil hat thing, man. All of them have said it, from freaking George W. Bush to Obama to Clinton to all of them. Right? They've all said we need the new world order, the new order, the new world order. This is what this is all designed to bring us into. And you can't have that with a strong America. So here's why I'm saying that I still think there's a possibility that it could get reversed, not because it will be the right, honorable, right thing to do for the American people, but it would be the best way to bring even further division and chaos to America. And that's what I think they want to happen. I think that because the establishment isn't just people that love America. The true elite and establishment are global. They're the ones that are betting on both sides of the against both teams, but basically, right? So they come out winning on no matter how it goes. And my whole tinfoil thing is that I could see them putting Trump or reversing the election because they know that Black Lives Matter and Antifa will burn the fucking country down, and they know that patriots won't. They know that the MAGA group won't. They may flare up here or there for a little bit. They're not going to burn the country down. And if they want to bring total and complete destruction to the country, of which is what I think their plan ultimately is, I could see them putting him back in or reversing the election, but not because it matters of the will of the people, but because it's what the ultimate plan is that they desire. And I know I'm a little out there, but that's something I'm not putting beyond.
Okay, well then I'll make the same bet with you that I made with the other people in the crowd. So you think the courts will overturn it?
No, I don't.
Would say there's a 99. I'd say there's a 99% chance that's not the case.
I'm not saying they will. I'm saying if they do, it's for one reason, not because Trump won, not because Trump and the plan worked, not because they care about democracy, but because they want to burn the country down. Because like what you said, Rob, before we started streaming, if they were to do that, they would cause riots the likes of which we have not even seen. And I am saying I don't put it past the deep state to want those kind of riots and that kind of chaos, because they could literally change our constitution and our country with that scenario in place. And, so that's why I'm saying it could happen.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I heard.
What's that? At this point, it's kind of to the point where, regardless of the outcome, whether the courts turn it over or not, we're kind of on this warpath now where we have no possibility going forward of having any faith in our electoral process. And what do you do with our democratic republic? How do you actually go forward when you can't have any faith in the process? We'll never be able to regain that trust.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, what options left?
Well, I mean, that's the question. What do we do moving forward? And what do we, I don't know. I'm no genius. I've made mistakes too. I mean, I've tried. I'm not going to get into everything I've done. I busted my ass though, like trying to help Trump, not just on a channel, but I was offered a job through the Trump campaign. I basically didn't take it because they wanted me to get rid of my channel. And instead, I tried to help them with my channel, showing up to rallies, showing up to work with state legislators, work with state people in Pennsylvania here, because we and his camp knew that Pennsylvania was going to be crucial. I did a 24-hour live stream where I interviewed 33 people that were state party people trying to drive out the vote. I ran for office myself in 2019, spent over $8,000, refused to take one donation, and basically ran on Donald Trump being a good president and his platform, and working class people in places like rural Pennsylvania not having a voice. Right? But I made mistakes. So the first thing we have to do is acknowledge why we lost. There are things that Trump could have done better, but there are things I could have done better. There's things Dronetek and SJG could have done better. So as individuals, we all need to say, what could we have done better? My initial thoughts on what we could do is we have to first get rid of the people that appear to be our allies that aren't our allies. So stop watching Fox News. Stop thinking Lindsey Graham is going to be your ally. Stop thinking the courts are going to be your ally. Maybe they will. Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. But we need to operate as if these gears and levers of the establishment aren't on our side. Then the next thing we do is find allies wherever we can. And I know that the audience isn't going to like to hear this, but look, it's human nature to want to rub salt in the wounds when you beat someone. So it will be human nature when many people on the left find out that Joe Biden doesn't have their interest at heart and they start paying the price. It will be human nature to look at them and go, ha, we told you, you're getting exactly what you deserve. We could do that and it will feel good. Or we could say, yeah, this is why you should join us in fighting this corruption. Because it doesn't matter what your issues are. The only thing that matters is we no longer have faith in our system. The system is corrupt beyond redemption, basically. So we have to reach out to people like that. Now, there's a billion more things and people that will have better ideas than me, but that's my initial approach, what I'm trying to do. Call out the people on our side that we thought were our allies and try to reach out to as many people as I can, even if I disagree with them on 95% of stuff, and say, look, this is where we could come together to find it. Politics is downstream of culture. It's going to probably be 20 to 30 years before we get another president that is going to fight for the people. So what we need to do is start taking back culture.
Can I just jump in with a question? How many people do you think that are going to be disenfranchised by the few weeks that Biden is in before Kamala Harris takes over from him? Because I think we all agree that that's inevitable, yeah? That potato is not going to last for very long. There's going to be a lot of people on the left who become disenfranchised by this election.
No, they won't. They'll love it.
So that means there are going to be a lot of people who are potentially able to be reached. And it's not just from a conservative perspective. It's from people who want the best for themselves, or who want the best for their country, who want the best for their family. So you can look at this in different ways. So look, again, I'm agreeing with you, Rob, and I'm not in an echo chamber with you or anything, but I think that's actually a valid point. You can reach out to people, because there's obviously going to be people on the left who are going to be extremely disenfranchised by the potato or by Heels Up. It doesn't matter which one of them is in power, right? And those people, why are they not able to be reached? You're saying no. Look, I mean, why would you say they can't be?
Well, no, I'm saying that I don't think that they're going to be disenfranchised. I think that everyone knows, anybody with a functioning brain knows that Joe Biden was a joke, but he was they hated Trump Orange Man bad so much that they would rather take the joke, dementia, sleepy old man over Joe, and they also over Trump. And they also knew that anybody with a brain knows, with Pelosi coming out a month ago and talking about the 25th Amendment, anybody with a brain can honestly look at that and say, oh, I see what they're planning, and they're already setting up. They're setting up for when Joe gets in, that he's going to be, and he's already, and I think he knows that ahead of time going into this, that he wasn't going to fill. I think he's signed off on that he isn't going to fill his whole term, and that Kamala will step in. And it's both because they're both puppets. They're both complete puppets for the deep state. So I don't think there will be any pushback on the left. I think everybody will be thrilled to have the first blackish American woman president. I don't think that people will be disenfranchised. Personally.
But okay, so the two things in that. I don't understand this 25th Amendment argument. I kind of get it. I've heard a lot of people say this. Do you really think that Joe Biden's going to be like, no, I refuse to leave. I'm going to hold on to power, which will require the 25th Amendment? I think he'll step down when they ask him. And so instead of saying, well, he's mentally feeble, he's stepping down, they'll say he has health issues. He's a noble man. He won this election. He tried to bring us together, and he's doing the right time to spend time with his health and his family, so he's stepping down. So I don't see the 25th Amendment ever coming into play with Joe Biden. The only chance would be if Republicans use that against him. That won't happen because the majority of the establishment Republicans are Joe Biden supporters and wanted him to win the election. The second question about disenfranchisement, like you're right in a sense, but so is Rational. Rational's right that they're going to get screwed over. For example, do you think if Black Lives Matter decides to riot outside the Joe Biden White House that they'll be allowed to go with impunity?
No.
Not a chance. They'll be cracked down on immediately. Those people will soon realize they were useful tools of the Democratic establishment that didn't give a shit about them. That's what they'll realize. And when they realize that, there is an opportunity for the more reasonable ones to reach out and say, we told you so. That's what this is. Now, do I agree with Black Lives Matter? No. Do I agree with a lot of these progressives? No. But we have to reach out and say, anyone who's concerned about the corruption needs to wake up. And if you could, and there will be tons of people like that. Now, the truth is, you're right, SJG, because 90% of those people, this is the irony, 90% of the people that will suffer from the policies they just voted for the establishment globalist Democratic Party, they'll blame Trump. That's the irony. If we pass the Green New Deal and a bunch of lefties lose their jobs, they'll say, oh, that Trump, it's Trump's fault. But we have to try to reach those people. I mean, what other option do we have? So, I mean, yeah, look, and then let's get to the elephant in the room, which is tough to talk about. Violence, right? People talking about using violence. First off, it would be a huge strategic blunder if you were going to engage in violence to be announcing it online. So just from a strategic standpoint, really dumb. Secondly, it is immoral to use this violence. Because if we start to use this violence, it will lead to people that don't deserve to have violence enacted upon them, having violence enacted upon them. Thirdly, it is right. Who are you going after? Because understand, regardless of what you all think, there are millions of Biden voters. I still think he lost. I think there are way more Trump people than Biden people, but there are millions of Biden voters. And most of them, they believed, they hated Trump out of ignorance because they believed the mainstream media. And they thought Biden was good because they believed the media. But that doesn't make them evil. What are you going to do? Start a war with them? And it's strategically, it's not going to work. Because the way this works is the establishment is on one side and then people like us are on the other. But the vast majority of people are not woken up to either side. Whoever gets those people on their side will win. If you start enacting violence right now, the media and all the people that control the narrative will convince that large mass of people in the center, see, we told you Trump supporters were violent racists. We told you they were evil terrorists trying to overthrow the country. They're not going to treat it like they treated Black Lives Matter and Antifa burning down cities. And the same cops that you supported, and me too, that we supported being attacked by Black Lives Matter and the left, with a smile on their face, they will bring their boot upon us. And there is not, regardless of what people think,
we've already
there is
seen
not
a taste of that.
What's that?
So we've already seen a little bit of a taste of that, haven't we? With we've had, we saw where there were people who were out the front of one of the polling stations who were, down on one knee praying, and then you've got some stupid cow from CNN or whatever it was who's inside the polling station and she's looking around fearfully because all of these people that are praying are going to go running in there and beat the crap out of her. And it was never even an issue. And this is the same kind of moron who would have been out saying, that when everything was burning down all around it, that it was mostly peaceful while people are getting shot. So, I mean, we've already seen a little bit of a taste of that. So, yeah, I think that's just a reality. Like violence
in Australia,
because
in Australia, haven't you seen it more than anywhere? Right? Like they'll come after the cops will come after you for not wearing a mask in a heartbeat, right?
Yep, absolutely they will. And look, we had one of the top cops here in the state of Victoria here in Australia who said the reason why they didn't go after Black Lives Matter when they protested in the early days of the pandemic, when we actually thought this was a pandemic, which we now know it isn't because it kills almost nobody. But back in those early days when we thought that it was okay for Black Lives Matter to protest because they get angry and they get violent and they do all these bad things. We've seen that happening all around the world, and we don't want to upset these people because we don't want them to get angry and do bad things because they're bad people, and so therefore we have to give them whatever they want. But when the good people, the people like me who actually care about my country and want to see my country working, when we go out and we say, look, we should not be locked down because this whole COVID thing is a pile of crap now, the police are going to beat the shit out of us because they know that they can.
Right.
When he
And
actually
that's exactly
said that, he just
happen.
outright completely said it.
Right.
Yes,
and like
that is exactly
there
what
are
happened.
people
They'll lock up a pregnant woman, but they won't lock up riders.
Right. And there are people in your chat, Dronetek, like Johnny Five. I see someone like he has the right idea, right? Johnny Five's like, what about a trucker strike? That's a good idea. Yes, but the problem is, here's the problem. The first step to having a meaningful strike like that would do something is waking enough people up. Yeah. And if all the truckers think, man, shit, this sucks, Trump lost, man, that sucks. But hey, at least we have a good chance at taking back the House in 2022. Do you think they're going to strike? No. We have to wake people up to this corruption, right? And the way we do that is by not, if we immediately take it to 11, using a Spinal Tap reference, if you immediately take it to 11, all you're going to do is that those people that you need woken up, that would be your allies, that would be good patriots, you're going to turn them off. They're going to be like, we're sick and tired of the riots. We don't want to see Trump people rioting. We don't want to see Black Lives Matter people rioting. And so they're just going to get tired of you. And you'll lose. That's what will happen. You'll be immoral and you will lose. So I cannot stress enough how against I am against any of this political violence. If someone is directly enacting violence on you, you have the right to defend yourself. If you're going out and trying to enact political violence, that is not strategic and it's immoral as far as I'm concerned. So what we need, go ahead, please.
My basic principle in dealing with human beings is to treat people like I want to be treated, and so I would never do that. And that should be pretty much everybody's base principle. And we do not want to be the hypocrites that the left constantly is. So why would you ever? And we would play right into their game. Glenn Beck used to talk about this a lot, and I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was something like the Bubba moment, maybe, or something like that.
Bubba effect.
Bubba effect. Is that? Am I right? Is that the right thing that
Yes.
I'm talking about? Where the media would basically just push a right winger or a Bubba to commit some sort of act that they would then use, and they're already doing that. It's funny. It's like that never happened, so they just started sort of blaming violence that was occurring on the right, even though it was coming from the left. Going back, I always like to remind people, going back to before the election in San Jose, we had that mob violence going way back then. So, but yeah,
exactly.
Totally agree. And look,
can I just jump in with a question, guys? Do any of you see anything positive in the fact that Republicans got more vote from black people and from Cubans and maybe some other Latinos and some other sort of minority groups? Like, do you see that there is a potential positive going forward? Like, is that also something that you can look at, and maybe the Republicans starting to reach out to those communities? Because I know, Rob, you've talked about that before. Like, is there a chance now? Has Trump opened a window for that?
So yes, that is what the Republican Party should become. And it's not just the Republican Party. It is Big Tent, the idea of patriots. The Republican Party is just a vessel in which was the closest aligned to real patriots that had political power. So that's why Trump was in it. That's why we use it. That's why I ran as a Republican, right? There are still establishment Republicans that I hate. There are things there, even with the agenda of Republicans, there's things that I don't agree with. But when it comes to the idea of our coalition needs to reach out to people of color, to single women, to gay people, people that are in demographics that normally aren't reached out to. And our message is simple. The founding fathers and the liberties that they outlined in the foundational documents of this country are the best for every group of people, because every group of people are individuals. And our promise is to treat you like an individual and not based like a skin color or a sexual preference or a gender. We treat you based on the content of your character. That's the argument we should have been making. And it's a good sign to see if the exit polls are to be believed that people of color, other groups were actually voting more for Trump. And if the exit polls are to be believed, now, granted, I think it's a fraudulent election, but if we believe the exit polls, it was white men that Trump lost most, particularly white men in the suburbs and older white men. He lost bigger percentages of them, which is why he lost. But I'll tell you real quick, something that I'm more excited than, which I'm going to get laughed at in the chat, but I'm sincere in this. What I'm more excited than just, Cuban Americans, blacks, others voting for Trump. I'm more excited to see rappers' endorsement of Trump. And the reason is this. If you're voting because a rapper told you to vote for someone, you're probably not making the best decision. But politics is downstream of culture, and conservatives have lost the culture war. And so if we see people with cultural influence, whether it be Kanye West, Lil Pump, Lil Wayne, all these people, I don't really listen to this music. Right. Did you hear what Trump called him? Little pimp.
Yeah.
Which is great. Not little pimp. Little pimp. But when we see that's where the battle's going to be fought. We start getting young people. We start showing young people we are the people that have fun. We are the people that can actually go out and have a good time, and you don't have to worry about parsing every word you say because you're afraid you're going to say the wrong gender pronoun, or we're going to go through your Twitter feed from when you were 14 and find something that we could get you in trouble for. That's not who we are. We're fun people. We welcome people of all sorts of backgrounds. Right. And we need to start to get in culture. That's why I'm telling people, if you're a patriot, like one of the best things you could do is, what are you, an artist? Whatever you do, you could use that field to inspire people to be patriots. And it sounds dumb. I know when you hear this, people are like, this is garbage. I'm telling you, if we start to take back education of children, if we start to take back the entertainment industry, you will see a zeitgeist shift, where people will then be unwilling to just listen to the crap that these propagandist, corporatist, globalists spew on us all the time. So actually, I thought that was a positive step that we could, work off of.
Yeah, and I wanted to chime in just a little bit on what you were talking about, the Cuban Americans and South Americans in general coming on board with Republicans. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of the main ones is being that they see in the Democrat Party that what they fled. And I've talked to immigrants personally, multiple ones, that have told me the exact same thing, that they came over here thinking that the Democrat Party was the people they were supposed to be with. And then over time, they started recognizing this, And so what I've noticed is even recently, there's recent stories on Newsbusters, if you look, that the media is kind of going after these people now, the Cubans and the South Americans who fled, and they're saying, no, Biden's not socialist. What are you talking about? He's not socialist. And it's so funny coming from like MSNBC, especially, because I'm pretty sure that's where this came from. Because on MSNBC, they openly praise like Fidel Castro after he died, which I talk about a lot, and they mock people who are afraid of socialism. But that's what you're going to see is they're going to go out and try to convince these people that, no, this isn't socialism or communism. And they'll woo them over by scaring them about white people and everything. So that's what I foresee.
Well, right. And that's why, look, one of the number one issue is corruption. Don't get me wrong. All other issues are irrelevant. But the closest would be, because if we don't solve corruption, then politically our voice doesn't matter. Like if 99% of the people vote for Trump, but they count, who was it? Stalin said, you could vote how you want. It's the person who counts the votes that decide elections. So if they could steal an election, it doesn't matter if 99% vote the way you want. So we have to end that corruption first and foremost. It's that simple. But Trump banning critical race theory from federal offices was probably the single best thing he did, other than any attempts to fight corruption, because critical race theory is toxic. It's racist.
Yes.
It drives racial divisions in this country that will never be solved. It'll just exacerbate them.
Well, that's the point.
Right. And so we, make no mistake about it. When I'm talking about like rappers and culture or other people in cultures, I could give two shits about ethnic diversity. I don't care. Every time you focus, to me, the only diversity that matters is the diversity of ideas, period. I don't care. I don't care at all. So don't think that that's what I'm not talking about diversity. And I'm like, I understand there's far more aspects of culture than just entertainment industry. I get that as well. But I'm saying Republicans name me an institution that that gives input to shaping our public narrative that conservatives have any foothold in. Is it the entertainment industry? No. It's almost all Democrat. Is it academia? No, almost all Democrat. Is it the media? No. Is it tech companies? No. Is it corporate America? No. And increasingly, even churches. I mean, look at the Pope. He's basically a communist, at least a socialist. And you remember, what was the denomination of the church right outside the White House? You remember the one they lit on fire and then Trump went and had the Bible and gave a speech in front of? Like, that woman was a rabid anti-Trumper that led that church. So increasingly, you're seeing more and more churches left-wing. I wouldn't say they're dominated by the left-wing, but they're smart. Alinsky knew. The radical left knows. They know what they're doing. We're busy winning elections. They're busy winning culture. And guess who wins in the long run? Them. So that's where the battle is. The chances of us getting another populist president are slim to none once Trump's out. Now, if Trump would somehow win this court challenge, which I don't think he will, but then maybe we still have hope politically. But if not, the first thing we need to do is focus on culture.
So speaking of culture, that's funny because I don't know, one of your Desert Mob's like bong hit off camera.
What happened to your video, SJG? We want to see your sexy face, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, is that they're accusing him of?
I was reading the
bong?
chat. Here, let me go. So there we go. Can you see me now? Yeah.
You had some cool like blue lighting and shit coming in. I liked it. Anyway.
That's because my screen was my projector screen went blank, and so it was reflecting blue on me.
I do play RPGs, Rich. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I know what you guys are saying. I feel so I don't know. I'd like the Last American Vagabond, Whitney Webb, the Corbett report, James Corbett from the Corbett report. Those are the kind of the things that I've been feeling like I've been getting the most substance out of listening to those guys who are really more Jefferson-esque, classical kind of. It's what I talked about with Dustin last night in the stream, was just kind of that Jefferson-esque of classical liberalism, that classic, bringing that classical liberal back, getting rid of Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, and just bringing back more of that classical liberal sort of mentality. That's what's gonna help heal our nation and bring us all back together. Is these extremes is what's killing us big time, and people need to be able to, like, I guess it's what Rob's saying too, and we're all saying, is reaching across the aisle a little bit. But getting back to people that agree on the fact that freedom of thought and expression and speech, those are the things that matter. And even if, for instance, I guess it would be a good example would be like, trigger warning. They're not conservatives, right? That dude's pretty liberal, but he's open-minded, and he's rational,
right.
In the way he approaches stuff. And so, that's, I don't know. But for me, I'm just like, this is I'm very salty right now, because I'm just kind of like, this is all such bullshit. Our freaking democracy is such bullshit. Or our republic, our democratic republic. It's such bullshit.
Yeah. Well, and listen, so again, I keep hearing he's going to win in court. This is absolutely going to happen. Maybe. So let's say that's true, right? Let's say Trump's going to win in court. This is the same thing I said to the Q people. The Q people would tell me I would do a 4-hour video proving James Comey committed crimes. And I know everyone picks up. People were saying I sounded like Iago. Isn't that Gilbert Godfrey? One of the funniest comedians alive. So I take that.
You do.
If I sound like Gilbert Godfrey, one of the funniest things you ever hear is Gilbert Godfrey reading 50 Shades of Grey. He does these like candle. It's hilarious. It's like, if you look it up. I don't know what. Yeah. I love Godfrey telling the aristocrats and shit like that. No, he's funny. But, so let's put it this way. I said the same thing to Q, but we'll put it in the context of this court. The reason I believe he will lose the court case isn't because I don't believe the evidence is there. I believe the evidence is there. I absolutely believe it. It is because I have no faith in our establishment political process to do the right thing. That's why. Because I believe there's a deep state. And I believe I've watched Supreme Court decision after Supreme Court decision that has been horrible and against our civil liberties. That's why. Because I've seen the lockdowns be approved in court that are obvious garbage. I saw this Supreme Court in a 5-3. So that means even if Amy Coney Barrett would have been there, at best it's a 5-4. I saw this court tell Americans they can't go to church, but they could go to the casino next door. I saw that just 3 months ago. So I do not have faith that that same court is going to say, oh, here's corruption, and so therefore we'll rule on it and overturn what people think are the results of the election. But maybe I'm wrong, okay? So let's put it this way. And by the way, I'm cheering for myself to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I will come on here on Dronetek's channel, and you could all make fun of me for 4 hours, and I'll sit here with a grin on my face saying, yeah, I deserve that. Fine, great. Because I care more about the country than myself, so that would be great. But let's say I'm wrong. What harm am I doing saying we need to be taking steps, preparing as if we're going to lose that challenge on how to move forward? What danger is there in me saying that? Am I saying Trump not to fight? No. Trump should drag this out as long as he can. He should take every legal recourse he could. He should declassify everything. And I mean everything. He should, tomorrow morning, he should have the list of the slush fund that was used, your tax dollars, to pay to settle congresspeople's sexual assault allegations. That should be released tomorrow. Every instance of CIA drug running, released tomorrow. Every document we have on the Russia collusion stuff should be released tomorrow. I think Trump should fight as hard as possible, but I think we should be fighting as if he's going to lose. So do I do any harm by hoping the court does the right thing, but saying we need to prepare as if they won't? No, I do no harm. But do you do harm saying, trust it, the court's got it, man. It's all wrapped up. We don't have to worry about nothing. The court's going to take all of it all. I don't have to do anything. Yes, that does do harm. Yeah. And that's why I'm preparing as if we're going to lose. That's all I'm saying. So I get it. Look, and I know what it's like. Look, understand, Trump is the first president that I ever voted for that was elected to office. I was a Ron Paul person in 2018 and 2012. Amen. And I watched the momentum that he had, and I watched him be crushed by the establishment. Maybe that's why I'm so jaded. And it sucked. And I withheld hope. I said, maybe. Look at how many people were at these Ron Paul rallies. Maybe. And I was crushed. So I get it. I get wanting to hold out that hope. I totally get it. And I don't begrudge you that at all. I'm just saying I don't understand where the vitriol comes if people like us saying, yeah, that's probably not going to work. That's it. We're not saying we don't want it to work. We're not telling Trump not to try. I'll be more than happy to come on here and have you all say, see, we told you so. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Nobody here, I don't want to hear any like accusations that anybody here is like not fighting for Trump enough, because everybody that's here right now has been fighting for Trump from the beginning. So, and look, Rob's right. If he's not going to, if this is over, we need to start thinking about what we're going to do next. We need to start moving on. We can't dwell on this stuff, on conspiracies. I hate to say that because I sound like the media, but you know, we're just going to waste our time, just like this QAnon stuff. Not that I have anything against QAnon, but like others have mentioned, you know, Q's got a plan. Just, you know, wait for the plan and all this stuff. That's it. That's what all of this is reminding me of right now. So
I have stuff against QAnon. I'll go on the record to say it right now. I got a lot of stuff against QAnon.
I just mean they're not like the media has tried to claim that they're like violent and a threat, and the government has, and it's like they're if anybody goes and looks at the government's claims and the media's claims for why they're a threat, it's a bunch of bullshit. Just read down the list. It's a bunch of random crimes by crazy people that they loosely connect to QAnon. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say one thing too is, you know, just the one thing I've been covering for the last 2 or 3 weeks in my videos is the whole Transition Integrity Project. It's like they told you what they were going to do, and they did it. The Event 201, I've said this several times now, but I'll say it again. Event 201 was to the pandemic as the Transition Integrity Project was to the election. It's almost verbatim. So it's like they told us what they were going to do. Sorry, I should turn a light on. I'm too lazy to get up and turn a light on.
In the shadows.
You're just like, in the shadows.
You're like Rational Wrong Think used to be. Now he's a cowboy.
But it's like it's funny to me because they don't even hide it anymore. They just are willing to tell us exactly what they're going to do, and then they do it. And I don't get. It goes along with what Robert says too, of like, because they know we're not going to do anything about it. There's going to be some conspiracy that the ballots were watermarked with a radioactive radioactive waste that glows in the dark, and they can find it anywhere from space, and so they're going to find all the ballots, and everything's going to be okay.
But look, that could theoretically be, it's not as ridiculous as you're making it sound. It's not. And it could theoretically be true, but here's the problem. Like, Like this is, let's say that's
Robert,
true.
No, I do not ever want to disagree with you because you are way better
Oh,
at
no, I'm not as
debating
smart
and
as
you'll
you.
murder
No,
me.
none of
But
us want to disagree with you. Ever.
but
You
here's
are
the thing,
our-
dude. Robert, no way, dude. Okay, theoretically, yeah, it could be. And like I talked about this with Dustin the other day on the stream, is that all ballots are watermarked. So yes,
Exactly.
but-
Okay.
But here's the thing. Don't you start with me, motherfucker, and start doing that. You're not gonna do. No, just kidding. But here's the thing. Here's the first thing I thought about when that came to me. So, do we really think, with all the leaks and with everything else, that Trump could have kept that a secret from the people who were planning to steal this election in the first place? No way in hell.
Right. Probably not.
He could have kept that a
Well,
secret.
that's exactly what I was going to say, SG. The chances of it being kept secret, like I believe there are watermarks. I don't know that it was special to this election. I mean, I assume like they put marks on our money, they probably put marks on the ballot. And if you were to just try to fraudulently copy one, yeah, you would probably be able to be caught. But one, I'm assuming that information would have been leaked. I mean, everyone around Trump, so many people around Trump seem to leak any sort of information anyways. But second, let's assume that's not the case. Let's assume that somehow it was kept secret. Here's what you would have to have happen. You would have to have those ballots be substantial enough that it would be enough to overturn the election. I think if that happened, there's so many other ways to cheat. Like to me, the more persuasive ways to cheat were like through the CIA program, Scorecard and Hammer. Like that seems way more realistic. That didn't require any fraudulent ballot. Now, I assume they probably tried to cheat in as many ways as possible. But again, so the people that are like, well, the watermarks will solve everything. Let's say the watermarks, you find 100,000 ballots that were fraudulent because of the watermarks. I think that that's not going to happen. But even if it happened, what is the court going to do? Be like, okay, we throw out these 100,000 ballots. Oh, Trump's still losing in these states. So he still loses the election. Like, so it to me, I don't know that watermark issue is worth holding out much hope for. We shall see. Look, I'll tell you right now, like I honestly mean this. One of the guests we had on after you the other day, SJG, was intelligence officer Tony Schaefer, big Trump supporter. He's, on Tucker's show all the time. He tweeted out something about these watermarks. So I guess we'll see. But I'm not holding my breath over it. For me, there's other evidence of clear-cut problems. Like one of the best problems, one of the best things I think worth scratching your head. And by the way, I'm glad to be able to talk to you, Rational, because this is from Australia. So is it true in Australia, Rational, that voting is compulsory, that it's illegal not to vote?
Yes, that is correct. And it has its own problems.
Right. So what is
obviously.
the average voter turnout?
Obvious problems that any idiot could foresee. But yeah.
Right. But for the sake of this argument, what is the average voter turnout in Australia?
Look, to be honest, I haven't looked at that, but I know that it's not 100%.
That's right. So according to the BBC,
I would assume it's in the low 90s.
Exactly. So the BBC did an article in 2016 where it was explaining how UK and US officials detect voter fraud in countries like Africa. And so I think it's illustrating Gabon. At one point, Gabon had like 97% voter turnout. And it was very troubling. And what it says in that article, it says, even in countries like Australia, where it's illegal, voting's compulsory, it's illegal to not vote. On average, the turnout in Australia is 90 to 95%. Our turnout in Wisconsin is going to be over 90%. That's unfathomable. And even countries where it's illegal not to vote, that's the percentage they get. But in Wisconsin, and by the way, it's weird too, because that's only in Wisconsin. So even though voter turnout was up around the country, it was like 73%. But somehow in Wisconsin, it's 91, 92%.
Right.
That's bullshit.
I know.
It's just, it didn't happen. That did not happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and these things just kind of...
Yeah, I think all of us...
Good.
Go, Joan. Go.
No, I'm just saying that all these things, which I don't think necessarily amount to stealing the election, definitely amount to eroding people's confidence in the election or the institution of elections. And it's another one of those things that for the last 4 years, that's all we've heard that the media has accused Trump of doing. And yet that's what they're doing. That's what these states these election committees and shit are doing. So I don't know. It's just once again, they're doing exactly what they're accusing everybody else of doing. Real quick, before we get on, go ahead.
Can I just ask you? Oh, okay, I was just going to ask a question. Like, does anybody see anything good in the fact that Donald Trump got around 70 million votes? Like,
right, that's
I'm assuming
crazy.
that we would be saying that the deep state would not have cheated on his behalf. Right, so look, I know that things are a little bit kind of negative and bleak at the moment, but there are positives there too.
No,
like I'm trying to look for the silver lining on the cloud. Like I think that's another good thing to look at. That the fact that more people voted for Donald Trump, and I suspect that that's probably why we're seeing the fraud in this election being so blatantly obvious. Because I would be surprised if the deep state types knew that Donald Trump was going to get the level of vote that he got, and I suspect that's why they had to cancel the voting in those key swing states for a few hours, because they had to do much more manipulating than what they thought they were going to have to do. So there is still a chance. Like, yeah, this sucks. This is a setback. We know that the populist movement and the right conservative movement across the West lost something big here, because it impacts all of us seeing this happen. It's not just an American thing. But there are good signs there. There are good things in that. That there were Democrats who moved over and voted Republican, so that there are people who are looking at a populist movement. So
and let me just say,
I look at that stuff and it gives me hope.
Let me just say because someone did correct me in the chat, which is worth saying, that actually it turns out that it wasn't 90% in Wisconsin. It was 72% of the voting age population, but it was over 90% of the registered voters. Now, the claim could be made, well, did that many more voters register, or was it 90% voter turnout registration? Either way, that's what I'm talking about, which is ridiculous. Those are the numbers that are analogous to Australia. That we're not talking about voting age population in Australia. We're talking about registered voters. Of registered voters in Australia, where it's compulsory 90 to 95% vote. That would be the number in Wisconsin as it stands, that over 90% of registered voters going into election day voted.
Okay, real quick,
and I've
guys,
heard people saying that they speculated.
Hey, real quick, Rational, we do have some people that want to chime in here, some callers, and I want to bring them in here real quick. Seth, go ahead. You had a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to clear up some stuff about the ballot watermark things. I hear a lot of people talking about that, and you can actually look online. It's a matter of public record that each state has its own guidelines for how ballots are printed up and how they're designed, and things like watermarks and layout and how they have to be scanned in and things like that. It's not set at the federal level. They're not printed by DHS. They're printed at the county level by guidelines established by the state legislatures. So the idea that there's a DHS sting for the ballots is just not true. It's just not.
Did you guys hear all that?
Hear him, really.
Hey, can you say that again? Can you say that again? I'm sorry, Seth. Go ahead, say it again. Hey, Seth, can you go ahead and say that again? I'm sorry, they didn't hear you. Say that one more time.
Yeah. So the guidelines for printing of ballots are set at the level of the state legislature. So there isn't a DHS sting with the ballots because they are printed in the county elections offices. That's how they can get away with this. They print them on the spot.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, but then the watermark issue would be irrelevant, right?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I heard that they were referencing particularly mail-in ballots, and for some reason that made a difference. But,
absolutely, completely.
Yeah, so, I mean, but it's not something that I've invested much interest in, because until I could, that's one of those, like, for example, there are claims like this, like the watermark claim. How can we verify that? We can't. Or like if someone says, I'm a poll worker and I saw this corruption, that could very well be true, but I don't know what to do with that. That's just me taking someone at their word. But when I could see things like irregularities in voting numbers, the official numbers, that's something that I focus on. When I could see inexplicably so many Democratic cities in swing states stop counting ballots in the middle of the night, only to at 5 a.m. find hundreds of thousands of ballots that almost entirely go for Biden, that's something that I say, yeah, I could see that with my own eyes, and that's troubling. right? When I see that Republican poll watchers weren't allowed in places like Philadelphia, that's something that I could see a court decision that rectified. When I see the media like Fox News call Arizona with 1%, but refuse to call Texas and Florida, that's something we could see with our own eyes, right? When we could see the discrepancy, and it seems like there were hundreds of thousands of ballots that where only Joe Biden was filled out and they didn't vote down ballot, and we see the discrepancy between how Biden and the Democrats did at the top of the ticket versus how they did down ballot, that's something that we could actually see, right? So that's this type of stuff that I've focused on potential evidence of fraud, or at least suggesting fraud. I don't know what can we comment on. Hey, did you see that guy, the watermark thing? Maybe, I guess I have no proof of that. Or did you see this guy at the poll station in Philadelphia that he was with Rudy and he said this? Maybe he could be telling the truth. But I'm not gonna say that I don't have much to say until we see if he was telling the truth or not. I guess that's why I haven't paid much attention to the watermark thing.
All right. Well, thank you for that there, Seth. We had another guy in there, but he is not responding, so.
Sure.
Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I think I'm about to wrap this up. We're getting kind of late. I'd like to keep going, but
Yeah.
I personally am going to have a rough morning every morning because I have little kids. So, and I think Robert probably does as well. So, guys, I just want to thank everybody for coming. Just everybody, quick closing comments here.
I don't know why my ugly mug was on there for so long when I wasn't talking. That's my only comment right now. But no.
The number of watching jumped. So thank you.
Yeah. No. Hey. Sorry for being so salty right now. I'm just kind of like, I've lost a lot of damn faith in everything, and I just want to focus on, like Robert was saying, culture, because that's what started my channel, was focusing on the craziness in culture, and because that is what directs everything else. And then also just really starting to dig in to all of the corruption, from the wars to the monetary system to our political corruption, all of that. And I don't care anymore who I'm talking about, and who sits by their name. Like, I don't, what letter sits by their name. I don't care what toes I step on anymore. All I want to do is try to figure out the truth and speak the truth as much as I can, because that's the only thing that's going to matter. And we can't wrap ourselves up in any person or any man or woman and think they're our savior. That is not the answer. We've seen that with Trump. We've seen that with this last 4 years. And that isn't a knock on Trump when I'm saying that. I'm just saying we cannot wrap ourselves up and become what we accuse the other side of being. We have to be different. We have to focus on what matters. And we have to ultimately just be wanting to expose truth at any cost.
Fucking A.
Well, I'm actually knitting myself a pink pussy hat so I can go out on the streets and read like a lunatic. I figure that worked last time, so we'll try that and see if it works.
Do you have any closing comments, Rob?
But anyway,
Yeah, I'm going to be streaming a little while after you close. Apparently, some tough guy leftist is going to come on my chat or my Discord, and he closes down every time he's on a MAGA chat. So he's going to come on and close me down. And once more, like every single time one of these tough guy leftists claim this, he'll say, "Oh, I can't answer my phone. I'm busy right now." Or he'll come on and within 10 minutes, he'll be saying, "Oh, I got to go." Or he'll resort to just name calling and stuff like that. So you're welcome to come on, JPT3. I'll put the link up in a second. So if people want to watch that from your channel, it's streaming on my channel.
Yeah, I'm going to put the link. Definitely go check that out, guys. You guys, that'll be entertaining. I have no doubt about it. So let me put the link here in channel. And definitely everybody start heading over here. Start heading over to this channel to see this. If you still want some entertainment, head right over to Robert Noerr to watch.
I'm not going to be up very late, but
yeah. There you go.
You're gonna do it on your channel,
Rob? Those of you who don't know,
Yeah, it'll be on my
brilliant.
channel.
Rob is brilliant too. He's worth following. He is one of the best political analysts that I've encountered. He's fantastic. He's well worth following.
Absolutely. Robert
Well,
Noerr,
I think the same about all of you. I really do.
Okay. Well, the fact of the matter is, Robert is definitely somebody you should go see, and He's going to stream after this, so definitely go check that out. I want to thank SJG Perspective, who is also very talented, and you should also go check him out as well. I'm going to spam his here in the chat here in just a minute. And I thank all of you guys for being here. It's very late. We don't usually do this. I was feeling the need to for some reason. We're all kind of feeling, I think, stressed out. So, yeah,
There I am again.
that's it. So thank you guys for being here, and I'll catch you all sometime next week.